Hey folks, I want to share with you um, this PowerPoint that might help you think about how to synthesize in your paragraphs, how to present your information ethically, and how to make sense of it so that your reader is well guided. So you've heard TIER and PIE. Those are two acronyms meaning the same thing, and because these are food images, I'm going with PIE today, but you can think TIER as well. PIE stands for point, information, and explanation. TIER is topic, sentence, evidence, analysis, and reflection. They're the same thing. So the point of your paragraph is your topic sentence. The I of your paragraph is your information or evidence, same thing. And your E explanation is the same thing as analysis. We're thinking about the information we present to support the point of our paragraph. So information sandwiches are another way of thinking about how we integrate the information itself into a signal phrase and citation. So we're going to be thinking about the sandwich inside the pie. I know that's going to make your stomach hurt thinking about those weird metaphors for, food metaphors that are a little bit mixed, but let's try it out and see if this makes sense. So as you've been learning through your they say, I say exercises, we introduce the quote with a signal phrase and by quote in here, the bit of the sandwich, this meat in the sandwich can be a quote or a paraphrase or a summary or any piece of evidence that you bring into the situation. So we introduce it, so-and-so says this thing. Or according to such and such expert, this bit of material, and so on. And then we explain it. So we have a signal phrase indicating who and where the information comes from. So I've used this silly illustration before. Bob Bobson, author of Cat Jugglers Are Us, claims that those new to the sport should, quote, wear protective clothing, close quote, parentheses, citation, close parentheses, period. So we have the signal phrase, where does it come from? Information in the form of a quote, paraphrase, or summary. And then the citation, which is the parenthetical notation regarding the page or paragraph number, website, or title of work. Now, we're going to talk about when you use those things. If you have introduced the author and or the title of the work in the signal phrase, you can get away with just putting the page number or the parenthetical citation, the paragraph citation in the parentheses. I'll show you. But the point of the paragraph is your topic sentence. What is the paragraph about? Let me move myself out of the way here. What is the claim being made? This is often the topic sentence. So what are you trying to get across in this paragraph? The information is what comes from the source. The explanation is how do you make sense of that within the context of the essay you're writing. Okay, but it gets more complicated. But we want to check our work. We always want to look at, does the explanation of the information support the point you're trying to make? Is there a relationship? If we can see that relationship, your reader will be pretty satisfied. If your reader is going, why is that quote there? It doesn't belong. Then your reader is going to be really lost and you will have lost them. So don't do that. Okay, here's an example, a silly example, using a single slice of information. Topic is poodle grooming. So poodle grooming for the rich and famous can bring in the bucks. Several poodle groomers cater to celebrities in part to attract business from celebrity fans. Okay, that's giving us the overview. What's the paragraph about? Well, how do we know this? So here you think snarky little brother will say, well, how do you know? We have to present our information. Kathy Kwaft of Pretty Poodles Are Us claims, our business skyrocketed after Kim Kardashian tweeted that she loved our services, close quote. Explanation or the analysis comes after that. While word of mouth promotion has always been the most important piece in the advertising puzzle, when the words come from a celebrity's mouth, poodle people listen. That is a simple slice of pie. Okay, now we're going to get fancy. Now, you've been practicing fancy. You didn't even know you were doing fancy. But in your outline, when I asked for two different sources. You have your topic sentence, what is this paragraph about? And then two different sources talking about that thing. You are doing something fancy. It is called synthesis, where we bring in more than one source in conversation about a topic. We have our topic, we introduce it, explain why it matters, and then introduce source one, and then comment on that, and then introduce source two, and comment on that, and put it all together, comment all together, and wrap up the paragraph. Synthesis is bringing in more than one thing in relationship. So watch this fancy schmancy deal. The following paragraph supports the thesis, pizza is not a vegetable because it is high in calories and lacks nutrients and teaches us poor eating habits. That's our thesis. Okay, and you see how that thesis is a main idea plus 3, right? Because pizza is not a vegetable. Main idea. Because it is high in calories, it lacks nutrients, and it teaches poor eating habits. Okay, so here we have a all-in-one paragraph that illustrates synthesis. Pizza is not a vegetable because it's high in calories compared to real vegetables. In the article, pizza, okay, that's our topic sentence. Did you catch that? That's our topic sentence. Here comes the information. In the article, Pizza is not a vegetable, Daniel Deibler explains that the United States government has, quote, stated that the scant amount of tomato paste in a frozen pizza contains enough vegetables to count as a serving in a school lunch, close quote, pair, which means parentheses, dot 1. It's in the first paragraph of that article. We can find it. If we are really curious about this information, we go right to the source, we'd go right to that paragraph, we'd figure it out. The period follows the citation. Okay, groovy. We have a signal phrase. We have a signal verb. We have a little introduction to the quote. We have a quote. We have a citation. This is the information sandwich, but it's in a slice of pie. This is the top crust of that pie. Let's cruise on. Okay, so now we know what this guy says. The government has used this reasoning. Oh, we're explaining this. The government has used this reasoning to put forth legislation that allows schools to serve pizza instead of vegetables. However, a little pivot point. However, encouraging students to eat a slice of pizza instead of a serving of vegetables adds a large number of calories to the student's meal. For instance, again, illustrating. For instance, a slice of cheese pizza from Dion's includes 430 calories, whereas a Dion's half-tossed salad contains only 140 calories. How do we know? It comes from the Dion's nutritional calculator, parentheses, period. If students are encouraged to eat pizza rather than real vegetables in school, they will be consuming food that is high in calories, which will contribute to weight gain. Because pizza is high in calories, real vegetables should be served in school lunches instead of pizza. Okay, so let's check this out. Pizza is not a vegetable because it's high in calories compared to real vegetables. This echoes the point down here, right? We have layers in this information sandwich or pie. So we have the point in information, explanation, more information, explanation, even more information if we want it, and more explanation. But we wrap it up at the end, making sense of it for the reader. We understand why this thing is like a little junior essay all by itself, even though it is a support paragraph in the larger essay. So if you think about each of the paragraphs in your essay supporting a point, and that point supports your larger thesis, everything kind of fits together like a nesting doll, like those Russian nesting dolls. So think about how you're choosing the information in your essay, in your paragraphs, so that the information talks to in conversation. So you can say this source says this and this source says the same thing, though you would have to link those commonalities with a transition word or a linking word or two or phrase. Furthermore, in addition, Likewise, similarly, those kinds of words will connect similar types of information in your paragraphs. But if you find that the information is in kind of not always in agreement, so-and-so says this. In contrast, on the other hand, furthermore, however, while so-and-so says X, so-and-so, this other so-and-so says Y. We have to have those kinds of transition words to make sense within the paragraph, guiding us from one idea to the next idea. We can use direct quotes, we can use paraphrases, we can use summaries, but you'll notice anytime a piece of information is presented, we know where it came from. If we don't have a page number, we can use a paragraph number. If we don't have either, and we know it comes from a particular article or website, we can include that if we don't have an author. There are lots of ways, there's more than one way to use in-text citation. The main thing that I want you to take away from this is that anytime you include information from a source, it needs to be introduced and cited in some way to cover your fanny. The reason I say that is because if I were to take all of the reference, the sourcing out of this, and I just said pizza is not a vegetable because it's high in calories and salads are better for you, I'd be making that claim, and it seems like a logical claim that one would make, but I'm making that claim all by myself. I would happen to know all by myself that a piece of pizza is 430 calories. I am a personal calculator of calories. I am not. I'm taking credit for something somebody else did. What's that called, guys? Plagiarism. So we don't want to be busted for plagiarism. We want to be ethical reporters of information, and so we cover our fannies and we respect the sources by acknowledging other people's work and where we can find the information that they provide. So that's a really important part of what we do as ethical reporters. So this again illustrates the point. Pizza is not a vegetable because it's high in calories compared to real vegetables. Information introduced in a signal phrase. In the article, pizza is not a vegetable, Daniel Dabler explains. All of that is a signal phrase. Here's the information and it's cited. Explanation, the government has used this reasoning to put forth legislation and so on. Transition to more information. For instance, one of those key transition phrases, a slice of cheese pizza from Dion's includes 40 explanation, conclusion. All of those elements fit together in a synthesis paragraph. So you'll notice those transition phrases, right? And the conclusion restates the point, reflects on the point, and makes sense of the whole shebang. The conclusion and the introduction to the paragraph should echo, just as the introduction and the conclusion to your essay should echo. Making sense? All right. How do you determine your points? You start with your research questions. As you answer your questions with evidence, convert your questions into statements. Question, can pizza be considered a vegetable? Answer, pizza is not a vegetable because it's high in calories compared to real vegetables. These are ways in which we can come up with our topic sentences or the points of our paragraphs. And while we can elaborate on related points, we want to make sure that we have 1 point per paragraph. Even though we might have more than one source in conversation inside that paragraph, as we synthesize our information, each paragraph should have its own point, its own topic sentence. It should be its own slice of pie. And everything should relate to your thesis. And as we talked about, if we know what our thesis is, we will know how to structure the rest of our essay. I hope that's a little bit of help today, and I will show you more stuff shortly.